What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Nick, and I'm joined here today by Alex.
Hello.
Were you massively confused by Inside? Do you have no idea what is going on in the story? Well, neither did we. That's why we went to the drawing board to figure it out, and we're going to tell you what we think, with faith, is going on.
Yes, we're going to give our solid thoughts of what we think Inside was all about. Now,
we've done as much research as possible. There isn't actually that much information about there. Cross-reference the very few things that are out there. Okay, I guess we should just start with the basis of the story. And I'm going to start by saying that I thought it was going to have robots. Didn't have robots, really. Like, it didn't have, like, robot overlords. It's basically, the big theme is mind control. I think that's safe to say that's the biggest theme.
Yeah.
There's maybe one or two other big themes, really. There wasn't a lot, but I think the biggest is mind control, obviously. The game is basically about you as a kid trying to find your way to the source, I guess, of the mind control, I would say. We theorize that the kid is actually escaping in the very beginning. The start of the game is you had just escaped from where you end up at the end of the game.
Yeah, so kind of like a limbo thing of how you...
Because you do fall down the same kind of stuff, and there's stuff, you just, at the end, you fall onto a beach on the side instead.
Right.
So, now, we're going to talk about our theory, and then, because there's two endings, technically, and then we'll go back around to talk about the alternate ending and how that ties in. So, first of all, Alex, what do you think the no faces and the people with the masks, what do you think that symbolizes?
So the guys with masks have to be ones with power. I think when you look at the game, maybe at the base level that's really all it is, because you see the guys with the masks, they're the mind-controlling people. The people without the faces were all the test subjects that you kind of later find out, okay, because they were testing them all in that base.
And we also saw people at the end who were normal looking without masks.
Right.
Who seemed independent.
Right, and maybe they got them to work for...
Well, let's point that out right now. The people with the masks in the beginning were independent. Dogs were too, and I don't think that's big. The people at the end were...
no face, but
face.
normal people.
So
like
it's safe to say no one has a face, and it's just... and technically those things in the water also.
Oh, yes.
The big blob at the end was not. The
Right.
people in the beginning that were wearing normal clothes, they weren't wearing farmer clothes, they originally put in truck, they were not. And the people you get throughout I think say farmers and construction workers,
Yeah.
blue collar workers basically, aren't, and the weird experimented things you found at the end are not.
Right.
So it's safe to say it's like, it's almost not, there's not enough to come to a conclusion there.
Yeah.
And you never get the chance where you could ever mind control anyone, but you go.
But yeah, so you have to think it's just a divide in power, that the mask somehow symbolizes that they're higher up in some way. I don't know why. I mean, it makes sense now that the kid doesn't have a face, or the kid doesn't have a mask, and he's escaping from the test
The kid has
lab.
no face though, so that's why it makes me safe to say no one has a face.
Right.
Because yeah.
But I think it could just be as easy as those with the masks chose to put on the mask because they're the elite. They're the ones who, because all these machinery things, they're done by somebody, and like I mentioned at the ending,
Yeah, the lights are created.
The lights are created
to find.
And in the test lab at the very end, there's no people with masks. There's only workers. So you've got to think that they're only there because of the masked people, and the masked people are so confident that they don't even put themselves in that, because you didn't see them at all in the entire base. It was just all people without masks, which I thought was weird. But I think that's it. I think it's just it could be more than that, but I think it's like, first glance, it's a divide between people of power and the elite, maybe the people that started this whole thing. And because there's children
yeah,
too.
because it's like, why are they faceless?
Yeah,
and there's the worms in the beginning. That's also fairly noticeable. Well, it didn't really mind control, but just made the pig upset.
Right.
But
But and I mean, you see kids with the masks too, so it would make sense if they're elite.
So it
If
makes
they're like
sense.
elites.
The masks are there like for a reason. That it's not people born. So my theory with that is that, and we'll wrap around the end why I think this with the alternate ending because that's important. Is you're obviously your whole main thing is to get to the blob. I think it's safe to say that the kid obviously had a direction. He wasn't just randomly trying to escape like it seemed at the beginning, and he ended up somewhere. Like
Right.
he's trying to get to where he's going because he's going underground constantly. Yeah. So I think it's safe to say that the masks might block a sort of mind control. I think that either the people were rounding up all the people who didn't have masks for one of two reasons, or both. If it's one, it might be the other. But okay, so I think either they're rounding them up. It's kind of like a martial law thing, like you pointed out.
Yeah.
Because they're looking for the kid.
Yep, the whole time.
Or it could be that plus. I think it's more likely that it's just they see them as a threat if you don't have a mask, or they need to take them somewhere to put a mask because they'll be susceptible to. But obviously, in the beginning, I couldn't really tell. It seemed like they were empty people because they were just being, they were just marching, right? So they're obviously susceptible to mind control.
Yeah.
And you're not, because you have no face, but you're not getting, like, you stood next to all those people when you were in the line and stuff, and you weren't being mind controlled like they were. But they're using that to, and those people aren't being mind controlled because they have the masks on.
Right.
So you're obviously special. And I think that's because the thing they developed, the blob at the end, I think the scientists and people there developed it so that outside that facility anyone could be mind controlled.
Yeah.
And that's like, it's a form of government safety. And yeah, the masks would have to be kind of elitist then, like you don't but it's, but then that comes in with you, how you're obviously different, and you're not. And I think,
Right.
I think you, as well as those weird troll things you see later, I think they're also kind of like you.
I think I would
Because
say so.
they're independent too, and they do that thing to you that might be the thing that makes you independent. But I think it has to be before that, because you don't get, when you're in the line, you don't get mind controlled. I think that's really important. It's a really important thing to point out. At the end, when the people are helping the blob,
Yeah. So why would they want to help it?
at first I was just saying it was out of fear, that one guy. But then they actually like helped you with more complex things, so it has to be that they're helping you. Is it that you're controlling them, and
Oh, that could be.
maybe they're like a different set of people? Like the blue collar workers are literally meant to be below, and they mind control them just to do their jobs, and when they don't, they just,
Yeah.
they just go into the prone and just sit there. Whereas other people like can take on their day-to-day lives, and they're independent.
Yep.
And I mean, that would be a good way to get work done, and that would make sense how everything stopped all of a sudden when you got loose,
Yeah.
and how they're rounding people up because people are just going limp and shit, and why they're rounding up in the beginning. They're rounding up like people with like higher up clothes on, and not the blue collar workers, because they're everywhere throughout the game. But yeah, so obviously there's a whole set of experiments, and I think we would have to pay attention more the next time we play it, is in it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and like they escalate with the experiments. Now we're gonna introduce the alternate ending. We didn't want to put it because you have to do it the second time, but basically the alternate ending, quote unquote, is just you have to break some stuff during the first playthrough. Then the second playthrough, right in the beginning, you can go into a tunnel, a really deep tunnel that leads all the way to a cord that you can pull out, and in the background is a guy in a chair that's like hooked up to a bunch of stuff. So, and you pull the cord and you go into the prone position like you see everything else. So you're obviously being mind controlled. Now, the reason I waited to introduce this is because, one, that kind of takes away from the he's a fugitive, because unless that person like snuck into the lab or something, which is
Right.
possible, and like made that person individual, then how would he be like there, which is at the end, and then
Yeah.
but, and it's also dangerous obviously, because that blob is obviously some sort of like source for all of it, and once you get in it, it becomes your thing. But it didn't really change much, other than you can still mind control the people you could mind control. You just can now without the head thing, right?
Right.
Because that's, I think, what the thing put on you, the little troll thing put on you in the middle of the game, is you can just do it now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know if that's the reason the blob, like, it doesn't, give enough to you. You just have to assume that the blob is the source. It has something to do with all the mind control. Him escaping is obviously the big event. That's probably why everything's kind of, hectic throughout the game. They obviously don't want you to get to the blob.
Right.
And
is there a reason why they never kill you?
probably because they want you back, right?
Yeah, because you escaped.
And I think even the dogs biting you is like, okay, the people are smart enough to know that they can try to get you without doing harm, but they're not worried if the dog kills you because they they engineered you so they can probably fix you. So I think that's why. Though, okay, so the big fixing thing to this is that the people aren't really people. They're like vessels for. Basically, they're like electrical circuits. They make stuff work. They're not like normal people. And I think that there's probably some backstory there where that's why some people wear the masks. They want to keep their individuality. And I think that might be the reason that you take the blob away. Because I think at the end it's trying to say that you might have died. If you kill the blob, then they can't mind control everyone. Everyone's free again.
Right.
Because I think that has to be why all the people were prone. It's not like they just, they were turned off.
Yeah.
And maybe you were a requirement, but that's why they're not working, and that's why they work when you show up. But you do see that you can mind control through a mind control. Double mind control when that other person did it.
Yeah.
So it's obviously it's more like the circuits thing. But you're obviously important. The blob's obviously important. Maybe that person that's in the underground area wanted to free everyone. He's
Right. Because he does do it.
He's like a whistleblower type kind of thing.
Because by pulling the plug, you unplug everything, even if.
It didn't. The only thing is, it didn't seem other than the marching in the beginning, it didn't seem like it was I would feel like if it was really trying to point out that everyone's controlled by one thing, it would really have done more because you really don't feel like the whole world's controlled and you're individual. There's a bunch of sides to it, and at the end, as far as the boss goes that you kill, which I get that that's important, and that's probably the reason you kill him and don't kill anyone else is probably important. That he's a mastermind to it, but they just didn't make him seem important enough. He was just he had a jacket. Everyone else was shirts and ties, and he had a jacket. It's you should have put him with a top hat.
Yeah.
Pointed out.
And I mean, the whole game, you see them bringing the faceless people to the factory, right? So that's happening. So, are they bringing all those people to the main place to put it inside that blob?
Either that, they either treat them like cattle, or they're trying to get them all back because they're not safe anymore. Because you escaped.
Right. So they're trying to.
Because you obviously had to come from somewhere important, and it makes the most sense that it was the factory in the beginning. So it's really the only other place you see a big mountain. So yeah, they're probably trying to save them.
Yeah, and that's why you see them.
And that's why the people have masks. Is they're almost the only thing is the kids have masks, so that's kind of weird. But the people who have masks are almost like a Secret Service kind of type deal. But yeah, rich and powerful. But yeah, but there's also people standing there with their kids and watching it and stuff.
Yep.
Maybe it's just people who can afford a mask or something.
Right. Yeah, at some.
But even the animals follow you.
Even the animals follow.
It's almost it's not trying to say that it was done. It's just they figured out how to control people's minds, and then they did it, and then they that's why you're a better
and we're thinking this is a somewhat of a post-apocalyptic time period where it's modern day, just a little bit afterwards, where something falls apart.
Yeah, it's not super far dystopian at all. It's
right. It's
if they try to.
There's modern machinery.
Because at first I was looking for that. Well, it's not dystopian. There's a whole different, society style. It's it's kind of just a world in which this exists.
Right.
The only other thing is those little troll thingies in the water. Obviously, they're important.
Yes.
I don't know why they were trying to kill you in the beginning though. Maybe they're just individual. Maybe they're like you. They created them and they were failed experiments, so they just threw them away, and they just they get to be free of the general, because you never get mind controlled, right? Other than that direct link from the I think that's important. You can't be mind controlled other than that guy because he's directly linked to you.
Right. Yeah,
So those things might be individual or they might only be able to be controlled in one way.
but why would they try to kill you and then they're the ones who save you?
What do you mean?
They're the ones who put the
Well, I think that might be more of like a... Like, because, okay, if you're a worker somewhere, you're not going to, like, be all for the grand CEO plan, right? So only the people that are trying to get you are, like, and maybe they realize that you're freeing them of being susceptible to mind control. I mean, they probably work there free of mind control, but that's because, like, okay, you would want blue collar workers in a perfect world to, like, all be controlled, no one's slacking off, no one's messing up, but you wouldn't want that for scientists because that's how science works. Like, it's different fields.
Right, and I think they made a point of that at the end.
They even basically did the colors right. Like all the people were in white shirts, white collar.
Yep. I mean, right, that makes sense because they showed the office, they showed the test subjects,
because even if they know that they can be controlled,
they showed a study of them where the water was flipped upside down. There were people watching, so those kind of guys.
Yeah, because if you think about it like that, that's a good point. Is like they would be working on it because they'd have no choice, right? It's either they're like whoever's in charge is either work on it, or we're gonna put you out with the rest of the people where you can just be controlled by us. And what would you pick? Like, especially if you knew the science behind it, you'd be like, I don't want to be mind controlled.
Right.
I'd rather work on it than anything. So maybe that they're helping you because they all realize that you're gonna set them free.
It is a spin of a martial law elitist kind of world.
Yeah, it's probably more like people live their day-to-day lives, but they like. The government created that because they know they can't, like, okay, if you're looking for someone, like, who committed a crime, you can just turn their mind off, one random person.
Right. Yep.
And the workers, like, they're just made to be controlled.
And the guy at the bottom that was helping, or maybe he was helping, that's what he was a rebel. He was a guy who, maybe he worked there.
He seems like he snuck around to, like, help you.
Yep. So...
I get it.
That is basically it for our theories. We try to make just as much sense of the game as possible. As always, so for these theories videos, what do you guys think of it? Leave it in the comments below.
We need it more than ever.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys write it in the comments, we'll definitely respond and we'll have a good conversation of what we think was happening. Maybe we're completely wrong and maybe one of you guys has the right idea. Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe to Podcast Now. And like this video so we can do more theories videos, more videos in general. That's it for this. Nick, thanks for taking over as the host.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see you guys in the next video.